Good morning, guys. Today I wanted to speak a little bit about some of the cardio elements of CrossFit. And we have things like assault bike, we have rowing, we have running, we have ski erg, we have swimming in some cases. But one of the mainstays is rowing, and that's what I wanted to focus on today. I wanted to give you some of the things that have worked for me and helped me over the last year. Now, some of the things that we should all be doing anyway are rowing whilst we've warmed up, incorporating some strength training. We know all of that stuff already. So let's talk about some of the things that may not be so obvious and some of the things that I've discovered through experience that have helped me. Now, starting off in the start position, like you see on the video, it should resemble 11 o'clock. So if that's 12 o'clock midday, you're going to reach forward and make an angle that is roughly 11 o'clock. And I'm going to play the video through and we'll see that hopefully you end up in something that resembles a 1 o'clock position. Initiating and pushing through with the legs. So 70% of the rowing stroke is determined by how hard you push with the legs. Thereabouts. I just made up that statistic, but I reckon it's about 70%. Once you fully extend the legs, you need to be pulling the handle back towards your upper abs. Now, if you fail to do this, it's likely that you're bending your legs or on your way back and you're receiving the handle and cutting your stroke short. So you'd want to try and avoid that by getting as much from this as possible. So getting as much from each stroke as possible. I'm going to talk about that in a minute as well, the stroke rate or strokes per minute. But I wanted to go back to the start position and talk about something that I've noticed and that may not be obvious to everyone. When you're in the start position, obviously you're trying to reach as far forward as possible so that you can create the longest stroke. And especially if you're a short arse like me, you want to try and maximize that stroke length as far as possible. But it comes with a certain amount, it's a trade-off. The further you reach forward, as you can see in this position, the further you compress your lungs. So your legs are driving up into your chest and you're compressing your lung volume. Now this is the part of the stroke where you're meant to be breathing in. So a massive inhale at this part of the stroke, but it's tough to do because your knees are up by your chin and it's tough to breathe when you're in that position and crushing your lungs. As I say, it's a trade-off. Now you could reach as far forward as the drum and try and increase your stroke, but then you're going to be even more compressed. So I try and go somewhere to around here. I was aiming for the sort of handle catch position and aiming for that to be the start of my stroke. Okay, now when you start off, I pretty much, unless you're doing an all-out sprint, there's a kind of a cadence that you want to adopt or strokes per minute that is optimal to ensure that you complete the allocated time frame or the allocated distance or calories or whatever it is. Now, first 10 strokes can be pretty fast and I try and cover about 100 meters in the first 10 strokes and then settle into a rhythm that I can sustain for quite a long period of time. And towards the end, if there's anything left, I will ramp it up again and try and finish fast. The cadence in the middle is usually determined by your level of fitness and will be different for most people, but I'm looking at trying to get a stroke per minute of anything between 20 and 25, which really helps me build a steady cadence. I'm moving, it's not that I'm moving slowly, but I'm moving in such a way that I can catch my breath and I'm not going to gas out, not soon anyway. So I can keep this sort of pace up for quite a long period of time. And now if there's anything left in the last 200 meters, I can put a little bit more effort in and increase the pace and increase the strokes per minute. Okay, getting back, so this can appear quite slow to some people and you'll see some people in the gym and they're pulling away like crazy and they're going in and out, but actually they're not covering that much ground. And how you can tell, generally speaking, on the display you have a split time, and if your split time, my split times for this kind of pace are anywhere between 2 minutes per 500 meters or 2 minutes and 5 seconds per 500 meters, something like that. Now, moving on to something that's specifically CrossFit, mostly you'll have a workout where the rower is paired with one or two or three or whatever number of different exercises. In this case, the next movement is a power snatch, 8 power snatches. So it's 500 meters and 8 power snatches to be done within 3 minutes, and then alternated with 500 meters on the rower, 8 clean and jerks. So moving from the rower to the next piece. Now, depending on how hard you row, and what I see a lot of people doing is going hell for leather on the rower and maybe shaving off 5 or 10 seconds by really killing themselves in a row. And then as they transition from the rower to the next piece, they have to have a little bit of a break and have a breather and catch their breath. And that usually takes, 10 or 15 seconds, and then they carry on with the workout. And this is one of the biggest things that were areas where I've managed to shave off time just by transitioning smoothly from one piece to another. So from the rower, I go straight into the snatches without stopping. Now, I suppose that's simpler to say than it is to actually do, but it means that I've got to try and maintain a pace on the rower that allows me to be able to do that. And I think it's a really significant way to shave off time during your workouts and allows you to move a little bit more smoothly and fluidly between the different apparatus that you're going to be using. And I suppose that gets back to pacing and how you pace yourself on the rower. So I just want to talk a little bit about that. And so pacing yourself on the rower means, and how do you do that? I suppose what you need to be able to do is feel how it feels to operate at different paces for different intervals of time, different intervals of distances, or different calorie allocations. When you get used to the pace you can sustain for long periods of time, how it feels when you're sprinting, you're able to put that together when it comes to a workout and create a pace that you know you can sustain, and you know that you can move directly from the rower onto the next part of the workout without having to stop, gasp for breath, and head between your legs and wish that the workout was over. So there are the sort of 2 or 3 things that I think can be really helpful with working with the rower. So just to summarize, the breathing. So when you're doing the start position of the rower, understand that it's a trade-off. The further you reach forward, the more you're actually crushing your lungs and not being able to breathe that well. Then getting into a pace that you can sustain, being aware and conscious of your strokes per minute and trying to bring them down rather than, unless it's a sprint where it's all out and everything's on the table then. But then sustaining your pace through bringing down that strokes per minute. And finally, the last part was being able to move efficiently and transition from one piece to another without taking any time to have a breather. And that comes from understanding how hard you can go on the rower before you have to transition to the next phase of the workout. And you can only do that by having done lots of different intervals on the rower to understand your pacing at those different time domains, at those different distances, etc. Okay, guys, hope that helps. I'll speak to you soon.